Welcome back, English learners. My name is Sarah, and I'm joined here by the lovely
Anna.
Today, we're going to talk about some tips to help you remember English words. Do you ever struggle with that?
Oh yes, all the time. I learn new words, but I forget them so quickly. Sometimes I even forget them the next day. Why is it so hard to remember vocabulary?
That's a great question. It's because our brains don't like to remember boring things. If we just memorize words without using them, they disappear quickly.
So, does that mean I'm doing it wrong? I usually just make a list and try to repeat the words over and over.
You're not alone. Many people use that method, but it's not the most effective way. Today, I'll share some tips to help you remember words better and faster.
That sounds perfect. I really want to improve my memory. Where should I start?
Let's start with a simple one, flashcards. Have you used them before?
I've tried them a few times, but I always forget the words later. Is there a trick to using flashcards effectively?
Yes, flashcards work well, but only in moderation. You need to combine them with real-life context. For example, if you learn food words, try using them in a recipe.
Oh, I never thought of that. So if I just use flashcards, I'm not really understanding the words in context?
Exactly. Flashcards are great for quick reviews, but you need to see the words in full sentences or situations. Have you tried any flashcard apps?
I haven't used any apps. Are they better than traditional flashcards?
They can be more convenient because you can study anytime on your phone. Apps like Memrise and Quizlet even have built-in quizzes and games.
That sounds fun. I always get bored just flipping through paper flashcards. I'll give those apps a try.
Great. And remember, try to make your own flashcards. It helps you learn better when you create them yourself.
That makes sense. But what if I don't know how to use the words in real sentences? How can I learn that?
Another great question. This is where example sentences come in. Instead of just learning a word by itself, learn it in a full sentence.
Oh, like catch the bus instead of just catch. I've always wondered why people say catch for a bus.
Exactly. Learning a word in a sentence shows you how it's used in everyday conversation. English often has phrases that don't follow strict dictionary meanings.
That's really helpful. Sometimes I learn a word, but then I hear it used in a strange way and it confuses me.
That's normal. Learning sentences instead of isolated words will help with that confusion. Plus, it helps you remember the word better because you're seeing it in action.
I see, but where can I find good example sentences to learn from?
You can start with English websites, podcasts, or YouTube videos. Look for simple content with subtitles so you can follow along and learn how words are used.
I think I'll try watching videos with subtitles. I always understand better when I can see the words as people speak them.
That's a great idea. Now here's another important tip. Use it or lose it. As soon as you learn a new word, try to use it right away.
How can I use a new word if I don't have anyone to talk to in English?
You don't always need someone to practice with. You can use the word in sentences you write, say it out loud to yourself, or leave comments online.
Wait, really? Talking to myself helps. I always feel silly doing that.
It definitely helps. Speaking aloud is a great way to reinforce new words. Your brain will start to remember them better.
I guess I'll try it, even if it feels a bit weird at first. What about writing? Does that help too?
Absolutely. Writing is another powerful tool. When you write new words down, especially by hand, it helps you remember them better. Do you like to write things by hand?
Not really. I usually just type everything. Is there a big difference between typing and handwriting?
Yes, there is. Writing by hand engages more of your brain because it requires more effort and focus. Studies show that writing by hand helps with memory.
Wow. I didn't know that. Maybe I should start a vocabulary notebook and write down the words I learn every day.
That's a great idea. Keeping a notebook is very helpful. You can write down words, their meanings, and even sentences using them.
I like that. I'll start carrying a small notebook with me so I can write down words anytime I hear something new.
Excellent. Now let's talk about mnemonics. Have you ever heard of that?
Mnemonics? I don't think so. What are they?
Mnemonics are fun little tricks that help you remember words. You create a strange or funny image in your mind that connects to the word.
Like what? Can you give me an example?
Sure. Let's take the word enormous. To remember it, imagine a giant elephant sitting on your desk. The bigger and funnier the image, the easier it is to remember.
I can totally see that. So the stranger the image, the better?
Exactly. Our brains love unusual and funny things, so the weirder the picture, the more likely you are to remember the word.
That sounds really fun. I think I'll start making funny pictures for all my difficult words.
It's a great way to make learning more enjoyable. Now another trick is to mix it up. Don't stick to just one method of learning.
What do you mean by mixing it up? Should I keep changing how I study?
Yes, if you always use the same method, your brain might get bored. Try combining different ways of learning. For example, you can read, listen, write, and speak.
Oh, so I should switch between different methods? That sounds like it would make things more interesting.
Exactly. You could write words down, record yourself saying them, or even put post-it notes around your house with new words.
I love that idea. I'll put post-its on my fridge, mirror, and even my door. It'll be like I'm surrounded by English all the time.
That's the spirit. Keeping your brain engaged with different methods will help you remember more words.
I think I'm starting to get it now. What about learning different forms of the words? Should I focus on that too?
Yes, definitely. Try learning the plural forms or different tenses of the words. For example, if you learn run, practice ran and running too.
Oh, that makes sense. I've noticed that sometimes words change and I don't know how to use them.
Learning all the forms would help you use them in real life, especially with irregular verbs like go, went, and gone.
Yeah, those irregular verbs are really tricky. I always get confused. Should I just memorize them?
Memorizing helps, but using them in context is even better. Write sentences with all the forms and try using them in conversations.
That's a good idea. I'll practice with irregular verbs more. What's the best way to remember so many new words, though?
One of the best ways is to read, read, read. The more you read in English, the more words you'll encounter in context.
I love reading, but sometimes I get stuck on words I don't know. Should I stop and look them up every time?
Not every time. If you stop too often, it can interrupt the flow. Try guessing the meaning from the context first.
So if I can figure out what the word means from the other words around it, I don't need to stop and check every single one?
Exactly. You'll improve your reading skills and vocabulary at the same time.
That's great to know. I'll try not to worry too much if I don't understand every word at first.
That's the right mindset. If you come across a word you really want to know, write it down in your notebook and look it up later.
I love all these tips. I feel like I have so many new ways to improve now.
I'm glad to hear that. Remember, learning a language is a journey, and the more fun and engaging you make it, the easier it becomes.
I can't wait to try all these techniques. Thank you so much for the tips, teacher.
You're very welcome, Anna. Keep practicing, stay curious, and most importantly, have fun with your learning.
I will. I'm excited to see how much more I'll remember.
Now, if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, make sure you don't miss our next video. We have an exciting and engaging topic lined up to help you practice your listening skills. Click here to watch it and keep improving your English.